Hello and welcome. You're watching News at 10 on Rajya Sabha TV. I'm Aishwarya Kapoor. Well, ahead of Parliament session, Speaker Sumitra Mahajan has called an all-party meet. We'll get you all the details on that. Also, all updates from Uttarakhand, where the Supreme Court has revived the President's rule. We'll get you all the details on that as well. Let's begin with the headlines. Lok Sabha Speaker calls all-party meet on Sunday ahead of budget session that will begin on Monday. Opposition set to launch multi-pronged attack on centre over several issues. Supreme Court stays Uttarakhand High Court's verdict, quashing President's rule in the state. Records undertaking that centre will not revoke presidential proclamation till the next hearing on 27th of April. Centre approves 842.7 crore rupees assistance for Karnataka, Puducherry and Arunachal Pradesh as drought and flood relief. 175 countries sign landmark climate change accord, sets ambitious goal of limiting global warming to less than 2 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels. And US President Barack Obama's warning to the UK says exit from the European Union will push Britain to the back of the queue for trade deals with the United States. Lok Sabha Speaker Sumitra Mahajan has called an all-party meet on Sunday ahead of the second part of the budget session that will begin from Monday. The session begins in the middle of a raging political controversy over the Uttarakhand political crisis, in which centre's role has come in from scathing criticism. Now, this session is in fact the second part of the budget session, but since both the houses were prorogued after the first part of it beginning 23rd of February and coming to an end on 16th of March, this will be a new session. Now, Congress is bracing to attack the government and rope in other opposition parties on the Uttarakhand issue. Congress's deputy leader in the Rajya Sabha, Anand Sharma, has given a notice to Rajya Sabha Chairman Hamid Ansari under Rule 267 for taking up the resolution after suspending all business. The resolution seeks to deplore the destabilization of the democratically elected government in Uttarakhand and disapprove the unjustified imposition of President's rule there under Article 356 of the Constitution. The government also does not seem to be in a mood to back out on the issue and is likely to counter the charge by giving details of imposition of President's rule in a number of states during the successive regimes of Congress, while justifying the same in Uttarakhand, citing constitutional breakdown. And in a partial relief to Modi government, the Supreme Court stayed the Uttarakhand High Court's verdict quashing President's rule in the state. The High Court judgment will be kept on hold till the next date of hearing, which will be 27th of April. Now, the Apex Court also clarified that the stay was a measure of balance for both the parties, as the copy of the verdict was not made available to the parties. Before passing a brief order, the court also recorded an undertaking that the centre shall not revoke the presidential proclamation till the next date of hearing.
A day after the setback in the High Court, the centre on Friday moving the Supreme Court on the order revoking President's rule in Uttarakhand. The Apex Court stayed the High Court's order till 27th of April.
The matter was heard today. The Supreme Court, after a detailed hearing, has suspended the operation of the judgment of the High Court. The High Court judgment had set aside the proclamation. This means the proclamation revives and the governor's rule revives currently. The Chief Minister will have no power or jurisdiction to work any further till further orders are passed by the Supreme Court on 27th. That is the effect of the judgment.
The decision to approach the Supreme Court was taken after a meeting of BJP leaders that's in the opposition in Uttarakhand. Thereafter, Attorney General Mukul Rohatgi sought an urgent hearing from the Supreme Court.
It was pointed out by the Attorney General, Mr. Mukul Rohatgi, that an urgent hearing is required because here is a situation that an order has been dictated in the court, in the High Court in Uttarakhand. That order is not available with anybody, and that order is now moving towards implementation. So therefore it needs to be heard urgently, and particularly with regard to an application for interim relief in terms of a stay.
The Supreme Court posted the next hearing on the matter on 27th of April. President's rule was imposed in Uttarakhand on March 27th after 9 legislators of its ruling Congress party rebelled against the leadership of Chief Minister Harish Rawat.
There was no way other than P56, Assembly is not dissolved. Assembly is not dissolved. SR Bombay case spirit has been kept in mind because there was a constitutional breakdown, temporary president rule has been imposed. And any time the assembly can be revived also.
The central government recommended the imposition of president's rule in the state after an emergency meeting with Prime Minister Narendra Modi on 26th of March. It received the formal nod from President Pranab Mukherjee on March 27th, but stating that even the president can be wrong, the High Court bench of Chief Justice K.M. Joseph and Justice V.K. Bisht observed that it would be a travesty of justice if the centre revoked its order imposing president's rule in the state and allowed someone else to form a government before it gave the verdict.
Central government has been behaving like the slayer of democracy, the butcher of institutions, and the murderer of any thought which is contrary to what their idea of India is. So therefore, after receiving this very severe reprimand from the Uttarakhand High Court, the central government would be well advised not to pursue with this adventure any further and let things be decided on the floor of the House as is constitutionally mandated.
The issue came to the division bench of Uttarakhand High Court after a single judge ordered a floor test on 28th of March. This was after a controversy broke out over the passage of appropriation bill on 18th of March, with the BJP and dissident Congress MLAs claiming that the money bill had fallen and the government has lost its majority. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, let's listen to some of the political reactions to the developments in Uttarakhand.
जो माननीय सुप्रीम कोर्ट का आदेश आया है हम उसका स्वागत करते हैं। हम न्यायपालिका के हर फैसले का सम्मान करते हैं और हम पहले दिन से कह रहे हैं कि उत्तराखंड के अंदर जिस तरह की परिस्थिति पैदा हुई थी, जो 18 तारीख को जो विधानसभा के अंदर हुआ है उसी पर निर्णय होना चाहिए।
Union of India has given an undertaking that it will not revoke President's rule and thereby lay the foundation for the formation of a new government. This was the precise undertaking that the Uttarakhand High Court had asked for from the Union of India. The Union of India did not give it to the Uttarakhand High Court, and consequently the High Court had to pass the operative portion of its judgment.
सुप्रीम कोर्ट का अधिकार क्षेत्र है, लेकिन एक दफा वहां पर कैबिनेट मीटिंग फिर हो गई, सरकार फिर आ गई, तो 27 तक उसको फिर से रोकने का प्रयास अगर है तो मैं समझता हूं कि ये बहुत उचित नहीं है। लेकिन सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने कुछ सोच समझ के ऐसा किया होगा तो हमें उसका सम्मान करना चाहिए और हमें 27 तक रुकना चाहिए।
Let's move on in the bulletin now. The opposition is gearing to take up the drought situation in several states in parliament now. Leader of opposition in Rajya Sabha and senior Congress leader Ghulam Nabi Azad and his party colleagues, along with several other opposition leaders of the BJD, JDU, BSP and independent members, have already given a notice to Rajya Sabha Chairman Hamid Ansari in this regard, which has been admitted. Now, they have been training their guns on the government on drought, accusing it of turning a blind eye to the problem and asking for an all-party meeting to discuss it and the resultant water crisis in the country. The notice seeks a discussion on the serious situation arising out of prevailing drought and heat wave conditions and resultant water crisis in the country and the remedial measures taken by the government. The issue will be discussed on 27th of April. The opposition is claiming that the centre has no serious plan in place to tackle drought. Amid criticism of the government on the drought and resultant water crisis issue, Rural Development Minister Birendra Singh has said that over 1,500 crore rupees of central funds are lying unspent in states which could have been used to mitigate the drinking water crisis in the parched areas. And in related news, the centre has approved assistance of 842.7 crore rupees for Karnataka, Puducherry and Arunachal Pradesh, which have been affected by drought or floods. The decision to provide assistance was taken by a high-level committee meeting chaired by Home Minister Rajnath Singh. The meeting was also attended by Finance Minister Arun Jaitley and Agriculture Minister Radha Mohan Singh, among others. The committee examined the proposals based on the report of the central team, which visited Karnataka, affected by drought, and Puducherry and Arunachal Pradesh, which have been affected by floods. Now, an amount to the tune of 723.23 crore rupees was approved for Karnataka, 35.14 crore rupees was approved for Puducherry, and 84.33 crore rupees for Arunachal Pradesh. The central assistance of 84.33 crore rupees to Arunachal Pradesh includes an 18 crore rupees under National Rural Drinking Water Program. In total, 10 states, including Maharashtra and Karnataka, have been declared a drought hit. More than 10,000 crore rupees of central assistance has been given to these states to tide over the situation. While Puducherry was hit by floods due to heavy rains in December 2015, Arunachal Pradesh too was affected by floods last year.
जिस राज्य के ज्ञापन आते हैं ना, राज्यों से ज्ञापन आता है, सूखे के मामले में रबी के फसल के समय सिर्फ कर्नाटक से आया था, वो सीजन समाप्त हो चुका है।
तो अब माना जा सकता है कि कर्नाटक
अब फिर आगे फिर खरीफ का मौसम होगा, जिस राज्य से भी प्रस्ताव आएंगे हमारी टीम जाएगी और फिर एचएलसी के सामने वो रिपोर्ट आएगा।
The news last October 15 itself that there is a drought situation prevailing in the country, never in half a century, but they were sleeping. And Prime Minister, as usual, in flight mode, touring abroad, different countries. But so far, until now, Prime Minister never had a single review when the 25% of the population affected by the drought. This shows their insensitivity, inhuman approach towards dealing with the drought, where thousands of farmers are getting killed.
Let's bring you the weather update now. And a cyclonic circulation will bring rain to the entire northeast region, especially Assam and Meghalaya. But for the rest of the country, 2016 could be the hottest year of the century. Now, the Ministry of Earth Sciences says that the northwest and southwest India are reeling under intense heat wave conditions, with scores of people dying of sunstroke.
2016 could be the hottest year India has ever seen, is the Meteorological Department's latest warning. It came on a day of scorching temperatures all across the country. The Met Department claimed that the hot temperatures were caused by El Nino phenomena that is likely to become neutral in the coming months.
इस समर सीजन में तापमान जब तक नहीं गिरते हैं, जब तक कि या तो ठंडी इलाकों से हवाएं ना आए या थंडरस्टॉर्म या बारिश ना हो। अब हुआ क्या है कि पिछले लगभग 2 से 3 सप्ताह के दौरान देश के ज़्यादातर जो मैदानी राज्य हैं वहाँ कोई डस्टॉर्म, थंडरस्टॉर्म या बारिश नहीं हुई है। क्लियर स्काई कंडीशंस बनी हुई हैं। एक तो ये लोकल कारण है जिसकी वजह से तापमान बढ़े हुए हैं। दूसरा, जो ग्लोबल रीजन्स हैं, एल नीनो की कंडीशन अभी भी बनी हुई है, तो उसका प्रभाव भी कहीं ना कहीं एक पूरे एरिया या पूरे रीजन के ऊपर पड़ा हुआ है कि तापमान नॉर्मल से ज़्यादा है।
Meanwhile, Odisha continued to swelter under the heat wave, registering the season's highest temperature of 47 degrees Celsius at Titlagarh.
So far, we have received complaints of 73 alleged deaths due to sunstroke. We have completed inquiry in 24. Only 2 are confirmed deaths due to sunstroke.
Jharkhand's Jamshedpur district sweltered under 45.6 degrees Celsius. Uttar Pradesh also experienced scorching heat, with the mercury touching 45.3 degrees Celsius in Allahabad. Maximum temperatures continue to hover above normal in most places in Haryana and Punjab. Hisar recorded a maximum temperature of 40 degrees Celsius. In western Maharashtra, Vidarbha saw severe heat conditions. Chandrapur was the hottest at 45.6 degrees Celsius. Temperatures, however, dropped marginally in Delhi and some other parts of northern region in the wake of a fresh western disturbance.
रोड पे चलना इतना मुश्किल हो गया है। 42 डिग्री तापमान है। रोड पे देखिए आप कितनी सन्नाटे हैं, जबकि रोड पे बहुत भीड़ रहती है और इस टाइम देखिए रोड पे निकलना एकदम बहुत मुश्किल हो गया है।
गर्मी बहुत बढ़ती जा रही है, पानी की तकलीफें तो है ही है और गर्मी के वजह से लोगों को बहुत तकलीफ हो रही है। 44 क्रॉस कर चुका है ऑलरेडी। अभी अप्रैल में ये हाल है तो पता नहीं मई कैसे निकलेगा।
40 के ऊपर पारा चला गया है। आप देखोगे तो रोड पूरे खाली है और हमें भी काफी तकलीफ हो रही है। घर से बाहर निकलने की इच्छा नहीं होती है।
Globally too, the year is expected to be the hottest. United States National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration has termed March 16 as the hottest March so far. The agency also said that for 2016, global average temperature was 2.07 degrees Fahrenheit, above the 20th century average. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And close to 175 nations on Friday signed the landmark climate change accord that came out of the negotiations at the COP21 climate summit last December in Paris. Now, it sets the ambitious goal of limiting global warming to below 2 degrees Celsius above the pre-industrial levels. But the agreement needs to be ratified to become an international law. And harder than that, it promises must be translated into real-world action.
21 years of debates and conferences, it is time to declare no more talk, no more excuses, no more 10-year studies.
No more excuses. This was the message as the United Nations marked Earth Day in a historic way. 175 countries, including India, signed the Paris Agreement on climate change at the UN headquarters in New York. Hailed as the world's biggest leap forward in climate change policy in history, it is a key step towards implementing the world's most significant agreement to address global warming. Environment Minister Prakash Javadekar signed the agreement in the UN General Assembly Hall at a high-level ceremony hosted by the UN Secretary-General Ban Ki-moon. No prior global agreement has received so many signatories on the first day.
Today, the governments of the world made history, just as they did last December in Paris at COP21. With their signature today, governments have made a covenant with the future.
The agreement aims to keep temperatures from rising more than 2 degrees Celsius by 2100. That more or less requires the entire world to get off fossil fuels this century. Some elements like reporting requirements are binding, while others like which specific measures countries should take are non-binding. After the signing, countries must now ratify the agreement in their respective nations. At least 55 countries representing 55% of the world's greenhouse gas emissions must ratify the agreement for it to be implemented.
It is the unmistakable signal that innovation, entrepreneurial activity, the allocation of capital, the decisions that governments make, all of this is what we now know definitively is what is going to define the new energy future, a future that is already being defined, but even yet to be discovered.
À Paris était dramatique, tragique, après les attentats terroristes qui avaient frappé la capitale française. Mais le monde a su, justement, dans un élan de solidarité et aussi de responsabilité, faire en sorte qu'un accord puisse sortir de Paris. Comment faire?
尽早参加巴黎协定。中国将在今年9月20国集团杭州峰会之前完成参加协定的。
India has maintained that the burden of fighting climate change cannot be put on the shoulders of the poor countries after decades of industrial development by the rich nations. The US and China, that together account for 40% of global greenhouse gas emissions, have committed to ratifying the agreement before the end of this year. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV. In News at 10, a very short break here. We'll be right back. Stay tuned.
My research sort of speciality is essentially signal processing. For a person who works on this multi-detector sort of strategy, I think having detected in India is fantastic. I'm more excited is to see this kind of a system which we never expected.
Watch Eureka with Dr. Archana Pai, Assistant Professor, IISA Thiruvananthapuram, only on Rajya Sabha TV.
Welcome back. News from West Bengal. And the Election Commission has ordered the transfer of 15 civil administration and police officials, including a DM and an SP. The move, according to the Election Commission, is to further tighten the law and order machinery in West Bengal ahead of the 4th and the 5th phase of assembly polls. The Commission also ordered the shunting out of 6 officers in charge, 1 each in South 24 Pargana and Hooghly, and 2 each in North 24 Pargana and Cooch Behar districts. It also removed 7 inspectors in charge, one each in South 24 Pargana and Howrah, and 5 in North 24 Pargana districts. The fourth phase of elections to 49 constituencies will be held on 25th of April, while the fifth phase poll is on 30th of April, when 53 constituencies will go for elections. Moving on in the bulletin now, the Ministry of External Affairs said that it was consulting legal experts to explore the option of a deportation of liquor baron Vijay Mallya from London in connection with the alleged IDBI loan fraud case. The MEA said that the Enforcement Directorate had approached the ministry for revocation of Mallya's passport and his deportation. Ministry spokesperson Vikas Swarup said that a request has been made to initiate the steps for deportation in view of the non-bailable arrest warrant issued against Mallya by a Mumbai court. The ministry also said that it has suspended Mallya's passport and was examining the response provided by him through his lawyers to the show cause notice. Vijay Mallya, whose Kingfisher Airlines has allegedly defaulted on loans of over 9,400 crore rupees, is speculated to be in the UK after he left the country on 2nd of March.
Ministry of External Affairs has received a request from the Enforcement Directorate conveying to us that the Court of Sessions Greater Mumbai has issued a non-bailable warrant in the name of Shri Vijay Mallya. On the basis of that non-bailable warrant, they have requested us to consider initiating steps for the deportation of Shri Vijay Mallya to India to ensure his presence before the lawful authorities to proceed with the investigation against him. We are currently consulting legal experts on the next steps in this particular matter.
News from across the border, and bowing to the opposition demands to strengthen the inquiry, Pakistan's Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif has said that he would ask the Supreme Court to step up an investigation into revelations about his finances made in the leaked Panama Papers. Sharif also said that he would resign if proved guilty of graft or misappropriation. He has already set up a commission to investigate the allegations, but the opposition leaders, including Imran Khan, have said that such a body would not be credible or independent enough. Earlier this month, the leaked documents from the Mossack Fonseca law firm in Panama showed Sharif's sons and daughter owning at least 3 offshore holding companies registered in the British Virgin Islands. Sharif and his family have repeatedly denied any wrongdoing, saying that the assets were legally acquired through the family's network of businesses.
मैंने फैसला किया है कि मैं सुप्रीम कोर्ट के मोहतरम चीफ जस्टिस को खत लिखूंगा कि वो इस मामले की तहकीकात के लिए एक कमीशन तश्कील दें, ताकि जो लोग बहुतान तराशियों की इंतहा पर उतरे हुए हैं वो इस इक़दाम से हमारी शफाफियत की इंतहा भी देख लें.
And US President Barack Obama has said that Britain would go to the back of the queue for trade deals with the United States if it votes to leave the European Union. Obama was speaking at the start of a 3-day visit to the UK. He urged the country not to vote for Britain's exit from Europe. He said that the United States would regard a deal with the European Union as a higher priority than a separate agreement with a much smaller market such as a stand-alone Britain. British voters will decide in a 23rd of June referendum whether to remain in the EU or leave. Obama has raised concerns that the British exit could weaken the West. He also said that Britain's EU membership makes the world freer, richer and better able to tackle everything from Russian aggression to terrorism.
We are so bound together that nothing is going to impact the emotional and cultural and intellectual affinities between our two countries. So I don't come here suggesting in any way that that is impacted by a decision that the people of the United Kingdom may make around whether or not they're members of the European Union. That is there. That's solid. And that will continue, hopefully eternally.
A shocking story coming in from the US, where at least 8 people believed to be the members of the same family were found shot to death execution style in 4 homes in Ohio. The suspect or suspects may still be at large, according to officials. Now, the victims included 7 adults and 1 juvenile. All of them were shot in the head. An infant less than a week old, a 6-month-old and a 3-year-old survived the shootings. Now, officials have said that anyone involved in the shootings would be considered armed and extremely dangerous. No arrests, however, have been made so far. Some of the victims appear to have been murdered in bed, including the mother of the infant who survived.
At this time, I can confirm that we have 8 bodies in this county. All were adults except for 1 male juvenile.
Each one of the victims appears to have been executed. Each one of the victims appears to be shot in the head.
Let's get you some more international stories now in World Wrap. Airstrikes launched by the Syrian government have killed several civilians and injured dozens in the northern city of Aleppo as the ceasefire between the government and opposition groups crumbled. At least 20 people were killed across Aleppo and several dozen injured in the attacks, according to the sources on the ground. The United Nations has condemned the attacks and the death toll is expected to rise. Former Pakistan President Pervez Musharraf's plea seeking exemption from court appearances in the 2007 judge's detention case was rejected by an anti-terrorism court. The court termed his medical report as fake on the grounds that while Musharraf left the country for treatment in Dubai in March, the report submitted was of April. It also upheld the non-bailable warrant issued against him earlier this month. The former army chief has been charged with the illegal detention of judges and abrogating the constitution in 2007. Yemen's warring factions held their first direct talks in a UN-backed peace process and are all set to meet again, despite failing to agree to an agenda. The United Nations envoy Ismail Old Sheikh Ahmed said that the meetings in Kuwait had thus far been fruitful. They discussed a more permanent ceasefire in Yemen and how it would be implemented. Volkswagen has significantly increased the money it set aside to pay for an emissions cheating scandal, resulting in its worst annual loss, as authorities worldwide pursue new crackdowns on it and other car makers. Germany's largest automaker reported a net loss of $1.77 billion last year, stemming from an about $18 billion charge to earnings, up from $7.5 billion previously. The bulk of the hire set aside covers a buyback of nearly 5 lakh cars in the US, as well as legal claims from a global recall of 11 million vehicles. The United States will buy heavy water from Iran's nuclear program and expects it to be delivered within weeks. The U.S. Department of Energy will buy 32 metric tons of heavy water from Iran's nuclear program, worth $8.6 million. Heavy water is an important component in the development of nuclear weapons. The department expects to resell the purchased heavy water to domestic, commercial and research buyers, including a national laboratory. That's all in this edition of news. Thanks so much for your time.